All right. Welcome everyone to our, let me get back on here. To our November Spotlight Series meeting for Lady Titans. So excited to have everyone here. We have an amazing special guest for you guys, but first and foremost, before we jump in, we always like to get started with a little tradition for Lady Titans, which we call Grit and Grace. And with that, just a backstory on that is think of how pearls are formed. Think of that oyster needing to have an irritation, a problem, an issue, come in a foreign body, and then it takes that challenge and that problem and actually creates something beautiful out of it, a good outcome. And that's what we look for grit and grace. So grit determines that life's challenges will, neither defeat or define us. And grace is giving yourself kindness and finding, that grace in every situation. What's the silver lining? So we always like to start, the meeting with reminding ourselves of, those challenges that we face actually do help us grow. And so would love to hear from different members. Speak up, take yourself off mute if you can't. Feel free to share in the chat, but would love to have you guys share some stories of some of your grit and grace that you've recently gone through. And if you don't speak up, I'm going to start calling on people. All right, I'm going to start it off then. Angela, can you share us, maybe something that you have went through recently with grit and grace?
Let's see. Thanksgiving planning has been something that's been a big challenge recently. Trying to get all the plans in line, but also knowing that once they're all set, it's going to be worth the outcome.
Absolutely. Yes, it is the holiday season. We only have a few days left to get everything in play. For some of us are having some big gatherings. So yes, definitely some grace with dealing with family dynamics and dealing with those situations. So wonderful, Angela. Thank you so much for sharing. Anybody else?
I'll share, Danielle.
Wonderful, Renee.
My grit this week is I have a lot of members on my team that are struggling with some medical issues, and it's put us short-staffed, which, causes challenges for the rest of us whenever we are short on our team. So just trying to get through that together as a team. And I think the grace of it is that it's making us stronger because we're all stepping up for each other and in ways that we didn't need to before, and learning things and jumping in when we need help. And it's so I feel like it's almost my grit and my grace, because yes, it's a struggle, but I'm kind of trying to find the silver lining in it. And then on the Thanksgiving side, I think everyone has some type of grit and grace when it comes to the holidays. I love this time of year, but can also be very stressful.
Yes, absolutely. And we always have those times that, our teams, especially around the holidays, there's a lot of people taking, time off, like you said, medical issues, it's getting into flu season, so having to, work together to really overcome those. Good. All right. Have a couple more minutes. Anybody, else would like to share their story of grit and grace? All right, we've got Felicity. My grit is starting a new business chapter, moving across the country. Oh my gosh. And grace is something I'm working to give others and myself in these heavy days. Wow, that's definitely a big challenge. So definitely, if you need any help, Felicity, let us, reach out, let all of us know. We're an amazing network of women that can help any way we can, because that's a lot of things to do in this season. And yeah, don't be afraid to raise your hand, come off mute, be able to, share your video if you can. We love to see everybody's smiling faces. We know that you're still probably working. It's in the middle of the day, so. Kaylee, we've got one, going crazy training and documenting all the tasks, steps to take, troubleshoot aspects of my job to prepare for being out after having my baby. Grace, maternity leave will be peaceful, knowing everyone understands what needs to be done. Yes, absolutely. Documentation is huge, and we want you to be able to, go out and have an amazing, bonding moment with, your new baby and have the least amount of stress possible from worrying about anything about the job and really focusing on your family. So that's amazing. Excellent. All right. Well, thank you all for sharing. Yeah.
Danielle, can we hear from Lauren as well? I think she had her hand up.
It's
Sorry.
okay, guys. We don't have to make a thing about it. I'm going to copy Felicity. Mine's moving too. And I think when other people in my life have said they're moving, I'm like, okay, yeah. But when you're in it, the only thing I can equate it to is childbirth, and your body kind of blocks out how terrible it is so that you do it again. And I will never, ever in my life move again. I don't know what the grace is yet. I'm not at grace yet. So send me your grace because I need to get there.
Absolutely. No, the last time I moved, I hired a company and I said, I am never, ever doing it again on my own. Like, I can't. And then I just wanted to share, and thank you so much, Tyson, for shouting that out. I have a bunch of screens going on. We also have another one in the chat that Elizabeth shared is my grit is that we are losing a key team member, and with that will come with extra workload. My grace is really trying to make my team members feel confident and know we have such a strong team. Absolutely. And yes, Felicity, lots of coffee. Definitely coffee. Wonderful. Well, thank you all for sharing. We love to hear it. And I would like to get, started with our meeting today and introduce our amazing guest speaker. You may have heard, we've put it out there quite a bit, but wanted to share with you that we actually have Keith Mercurio. If you are one of the crazy people that live under a rock and haven't heard about Keith, he is an amazing speaker and trainer. And I actually got the opportunity to work and meet Keith many, many years ago when he was just a trainer for Nexstar. I met him actually at one of our service system trainings when he was still training technicians. And now he actually trains some of the top leaders in the world in business, and including our amazing leaders here at ServiceTitan, in really how to redefine their identity and be able to focus on, really building an amazing culture and performance and outcomes for their businesses. And Keith has done just an amazing job, just influencing so many people, even when he doesn't try. I remember when I was at one of his trainings early on, and just through a quick side conversation, he had picked up that, I had some things going on, personally, and just a quick note of advice changed a huge aspect of my life, with, dealing with PTSD, and, him actually saying, like, hey, control what you can control. Don't focus on things that are out of your control. Don't worry about it. Don't fester on it. Focus on things that you can do. So just simple advice like that he brings. So as you guys know, he was also a speaker at our Pantheon event for ServiceTitan, and everybody just raved about how amazing it was. We wanted to really see if we could grab some of Keith's time, and we were able to do that in his busy schedule. So I'd love to introduce Keith Mercurio.
Hey, Danielle, thank you for that. That was actually a really, that was a really touching introduction, and I didn't expect that, to think about our journey and where it first intersected and where it's at now. That was really beautiful. Thank you. And I'm really honored to be here. So thank you for the invitation. I think it's like maybe the greatest honor that can be bestowed upon somebody is to give them your audience to listen to them. And so I cherish it each time I get the chance to do it. I have a request, Danielle, if you're in charge of the Zoom, could you move us off of the slide into so that we could all, if we choose to, and I'd encourage us go into gallery mode, so that we're seeing not just me, but the community of folks that are on here. And I'll ask early in this process for folks to consider anything that they can to come onto the camera. This will be a very interactive 50 minutes together, and one in which, if you choose to participate fully, is a transformative 50 minutes. And so that's okay, Jamie. Thank you. I understand there'll be some limitations for folks. Maybe you weren't prepared for it. My only ask is anything you can do to be as fully present that you do. But by all means, stay with us and remain engaged. Really looking forward to the chance to facilitate this session and seeing some folks. Hey, Sheena, by the way, I owe you still a follow-up. We have a meeting that I need to book. So I'm on it. I swear it's coming. December will look lovely for it. And then who was it that was moving, by the way? I didn't catch you on the screen.
We have Lauren and Felicity. Yeah.
Okay, Lauren, where are you moving from and to?
It's one town, Keith. I don't know why I'm complaining when Felicity's moving across the country, but I swear I may as well be moving to Mars because it's miserable.
I actually believe the worst move I ever had was from the first floor to the third floor of the same building that I lived in, because something about the proximity made me think it was going to be easier. But as a result, I didn't pack everything fully. And so I ended up making thousands of short trips instead of, that might be an exaggeration, hundreds of short trips instead of, like, the way that you would box everything up to move across the country. So which I genuinely think is one of the great metaphors for life and how we change. Because I heard the metaphor described recently this way. If you were to make an agreement that anything that was a mile or under, you would walk to it, but anything that was a mile or over, you would drive to it, then that would in turn mean that your time to destination of something that's 2 miles away would actually be faster than that thing which is 1 mile away. Right? Does this make sense? Because we're walking the mile versus driving the 2 miles. And what the speaker was wanting to convey was that when we as human beings are dealing with a mild level of discomfort, we're not quite where we want our lives to be. We tend to stay very stagnant, even move very slowly towards what something great looks like. It's only when we're so far away from something and in such significant pain that we actually accelerate our path towards the thing that we want. And so it's actually when we're further from what we want and in great pain that we actually pick up the pace at which we go and achieve it. And so, Lauren, I think that there's, I suspect that in some ways, regardless of the logistics, that Felicity's move across the country in some regards may actually be easier to execute in this model of thinking than your move just to another town, because it feels like just to another town.
I mean, Keith, I'll be honest, some of it's my Boston attitude, and I just have to have like pessimism about me in some degree, but it's true. I feel like I'm prolonging my own suffering living out of boxes and just finding everything wrong with a house that I should be excited about. So
this is lovely. Where in Boston then? Let's get specific, because I'm a Watertown guy.
Okay. So yeah, I heard you at Pantheon. You worked for Tim, right?
I did. Yeah. For
so
8 years.
I am more towards the Metro West area. Framingham is probably the closest thing, but it's like the Medway Hopkinton area.
Yeah, I know it well. It's the start of the Boston Marathon, for crying out loud.
That's right. That's right.
All right. Beautiful. Well, this is perfect. And this is a perfect starting point. So, Lauren, I think today's session might be more for you as a mover than it is as a leader, but you can choose to apply it as ever and however you wish. So here's my initial ask. I'm going to ask you to take a moment and reflect. And if you would, with a piece of paper and a pen, or on whatever you prefer to take notes, I'd like in one sentence for you to write what it is that you do every day. So if you had to summarize your most, we'll call it even your most important role, and I'm going to just kind of leave some freedom with it being the holiday season. wherever you are in your life that you consider is the most important role, as a leader, as a parent, as a, as a friend, as a child, whatever it is. Think about what it is that you do every day and summarize it in a singular sentence. Once you've had a chance to, well, let me just give you a moment to reflect on that. Take about another 30 seconds to conclude. Rachel. And next, I'm going to ask you to take a moment, and as you think about that role that you play, I would invite you to identify confidently, honestly, what are two attributes unique to you that make you great at that particular role? So, what are two unique attributes to you that make you great at that? And then once you've identified the two unique attributes that make you great at it, I want you to take a moment, and I'll invite you to reflect honestly and identify what's your one trait or attribute that is the greatest limitation to your success in this role. Like, what's the thing about you that the way of being that gets in the way of you being great at it? Um, Great question, Renee. I think that that is a very likely truth, seeing as though our strengths are our limitations and vice versa. So just consider naming them on their extreme ends, maybe. I'm picking up some of these chats as well. All right. And now what I'm going to ask for, and I'll do my best to both monitor the chat. Please stay active in that because I adore that activity. And I also want some interaction. So in a moment, I'm going to ask for a couple of volunteers. And what would be great is if you would hit your hand raise button to volunteer. Now, when you volunteer, full disclosure, two things. One, I'll encourage you to come on and speak with me. And then two, you may be in volunteering. I always let volunteers know that that also is a volunteerism to a willingness to some potential coaching if it sounds and seems that there's an opportunity for it. That's what I do. So just be prepared that that is you're inviting that when you volunteer. And I have a little bit of a funky screen going on here. So Danielle, can you let me know, do I have volunteers at the top with hands raised right now?
Yes, you have Laura.
I have one volunteer. Okay, great. Well, Laura, thank you.
And we have Jen and
There we go.
Jayla.
Great.
There we go. We're getting some more volunteers.
Let's go in that order then. Jen, if you would, go ahead and share with me what it is that you wrote for your daily purpose and responsibilities.
I think Laura was ahead of me. If she wants to go first.
Oh,
either way, I
Jen,
can go. It
I've
doesn't
got
matter.
you off mute. You kick it off for us, and then I was
Okay.
just going on where my screen was stacked. So
Okay.
thank you.
So all three of the questions you want me to answer? I'm sorry, I was distracted when you said what
For
you
sure.
wanted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Ultimately, start with what your explanation is of what you do.
Okay. So I think that in my business, personal, family life, I execute daily tasks because I'm very proactive and I move quickly, but I think I am a very like kind of lazy, unlazy person. Like I'm really good at moving quicker than most people, but I feel like I could do a lot better than I do.
Well, it's interesting too. You identify that you execute daily tasks, right?
Yes.
Did I hear that language correctly?
Yes.
Okay. So what do you mean by that? Why did you specify daily tasks, like that unique language? What made you choose it?
Because at first I was only thinking about what I do in my business every day, but then I'm like, okay, what do I do all around? And I have things that I know need to get done every day, like as a mom, for my children, for myself, for my, business. And so those are the things that get done, every day. Check the boxes of everything in a list as it goes throughout my day.
Yeah. Yeah. Really interesting. I'm fascinated to well, here's what I'm going to invite. I want you to really explore that characterization of your role, right? Because I just heard you talking about let me ask it this way. When you say that I execute daily tasks, does that feel great? Does that like fill you with a sense of your purpose when you say it?
I mean, some of the tasks that I do daily, I'm really proud of, and I know help me move forward. And some of them are just, more like make the kids lunches, get them to like cook dinner, like things that have to get done. But some of them are more of like things that I know are moving me forward, like go to the gym and, prioritize visibility and things like that.
Cool. All right. So my one quick piece of coaching on this that I want to share with you, like you just said, it's like just making the kids lunches. So you mean nourishing your children and keeping them alive?
Right.
All right. So as you're exploring these like daily tasks, I would invite you to consider the greater purpose of what you're up to, and just potentially consider some new language around it, because I suspect, in fact, I'm absolutely confident that it's bigger than that. And I believe that the challenge, by the way, I don't normally go this deep on this first thing. It just really jumped off at me. So I'm taking a moment. I believe that the challenge that you described, like sometimes I feel like I'm not, great at moving forward on the bigger things, might be due to the fact that you're viewing yourself as an executor of daily tasks.
Okay.
And so I'm going to invite you to just ponder that throughout the next 35 minutes together, because I really think that you can find some potential language that's a lot more honoring of what you're doing than an executor of daily tasks.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yes.
Very cool. Very cool.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you. That was wonderful. I appreciate it. Let's see. I guess that was Laura. That was next then. Thank you, Jen. Fabulous.
Thank you.
Laura, what you got?
Hi, Keith. Hi, everybody. So mine is very general. So the role that I play is to organize and plan for everybody, whether they like it or not. I will execute it if they don't do it or they don't do it fast enough. So why I do it is I feel like I'm detail oriented and I'm creative, so I can up with ways to work around who didn't do what or in my time frame. The third question I wrote, living in the moment is put aside for, so I fail to live in the moment because I'm always anticipating what might be coming down the path. And it's not that I don't want to live in the moment, but I feel like if plan A doesn't work, then I got plan B, C, D, E, F, G, H, all the way down. And I am prepared to take over to do it, which creates a problem with team building concept because my patience level is weak. When I'm waiting, I can put a deadline. I can say, okay, so let me know what you want your specials to be. And then end of the day, so still waiting on your specials. And then the next day, and then, you know what? Let me say what the specials will be this month and we'll just go with it. And part of the problem with that is they all know I'll do it. They just have to wait. And it creates a huge sort of a negative, but again, you're not living in the moment. And I love what Jan said, because I think for the most part, a lot of us have multitasks. So mine was very general because I do that actually in daily work and living and all of this life. So Keith, I met you in an elevator. I don't know if you recall, in Pantheon 2 times ago. It was a fluke and it was really wonderful, but I hope you're doing well. But that's my deal.
Laura, that's really lovely. I once said to one of my best friends, I said the thing about me is I don't think I'm the best at anything. Like, I think I'm pretty good at a lot of things. I don't think I'm the best at anything. And he said that's not true. He said, you're the best elevator conversationalist I've ever met in my life. That was what he came back with for my
He's right.
my one superlative in life. So it seems fortuitous that we might have met in an elevator as a means of our connection. So really lovely, Laura. Thank you. And I'm going to revisit one thing with you. And this is a critical element of coaching that I always want to explore with folks. There was something that happened there in your language when you were describing your limitation, where you disassociated from your limitation. And you did it when you started to use the word you instead of I. So you said you turned it from a learning to a lesson when you said, and then you don't live in the moment. And so I'm going to invite you to just say it again, but say it as I, and I want you to notice how it feels.
I don't live in the moment.
Okay.
True.
And you're going to notice that typically it feels quite different. And that is a non-conscious mechanism that we use to disassociate from our limitations, from our negative experiences. We turn them into you as opposed to I. And then they become lessons rather than learnings.
Awesome.
All right. One of the foundational principles of personal development, growth, transformation is learning to share from a place of I rather than the you. My coach who taught me this, I used to speak on behalf of, I guess, the world. I'd say, and then you do this, and then you feel this way, and then you feel, and he would just stop and he would go, who's you? He'd say, speak for yourself. It was obnoxious, but it worked. So I don't do the speak for yourself version, but I do appreciate the I version of the learning. So hang on to that. And then, oh, wonderful, Lauren. It's great to see you. And thank you. I think you saw how much that resonated. So I think we have 2 more volunteers. Again, forgive me for my screen, but I'll take 2 more. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, we have Dayla, Michelle, Randy, Monica, and Krista. So
okay.
Dayla was the next in line.
So if and now I've got more volunteers than time will allow. So you'll forgive me, but you'll have another opportunity to volunteer. So I'll do Dayla, and then I'm going to jump into the next exercise. And stay with me. Keep those names if you would, Danielle, and we'll return to them for some potential contribution in the near future here. Okay.
Hi, Keith. Hi, everybody. Here's what I wrote down. I said, daily, I wake up, I take care of my dog as it's just the 2 of us. I have coffee with a neighbor. and I get to work. I work hard solving client issues. I learn what I don't know. I test solutions. I fail at lots of solutions. I support my team, and I laugh hard at least once every single day. And then every night, I get to recharge with either quiet and TV or a social activity. And it's not daily, but I wish it was, therapy every other week.
Okay.
I am nurturing and funny, and the things that get in the way of my being great or greater, and my boss can vouch for this because she's in the gallery, my organization and ADHD. So that is a struggle for me. I know it, I see it, I feel it, and I'm trying to work on it.
How long you been working on that? Let me see, Dayla. Okay, yeah. How long you been working on being more organized?
Well, I was, like many women, diagnosed later in life, so bummer.
Yeah.
But
Got it. But how long
probably
have you
about,
been working on
honestly,
being more organized?
probably 3 years, and I'm learning strategies. I have a super amazing organized boss who does take time and work with me on stuff, but she'll tell you I am struggle bus when it comes to adding all the notes and all the things that I need to on my Monday.com board. And I have shame about it because I know I need to do it.
Yeah. Well, that's what I suspected. So, yeah, I mean, and so today we're going to learn exactly this, and what I'm going to, not organizational skills, but rather, we're going to learn I suspect that everybody in this audience has something that they've been working on their entire lives, if not multiple things. And there's something to be noted in the fact that you've been working on this thing all your life and maybe made incremental improvement. But unless something totally transforms, our ability to change, to turn the limitations into strengths, is actually typically quite diminishing of our strengths. And so, there was a question that had been noted in the chat. Well, what if my strength is my limitation? Well, that's the case for all of us. Whatever it is that we're great at, on the other end of that comes a limitation. And when we try to fix the limitation, we diminish the strength. And so what we have to do is learn to be resourceful. Doesn't mean that we get to just say, hey, this is me, deal with it, right? You have responsibilities, you need to be organized, etc. But what we need to do is learn to be resourceful, because if we're focused on being less disorganized, right, then what we're doing is we're focusing on the very thing that is our limitation and bringing it into view.
Yes, well, I will say that I think sometimes ADHD makes me be better at my job. I'm able to shift and jump into something else immediately, onto the next. So that is a good thing. Yeah.
God would not have given us anything that didn't somehow make us better.
Yes.
So, that there's what, and by all means, whomever your version of God is, that would be my suggested usage here. Like, it is, there's beauty in all of it. So with that, I want to bring us to and into the foundation of this exercise. And I would love to then, by the way, to the point in the comment, I just saw the comment about guilt and shame, very limiting emotions, in that what they do is they keep us stuck in the past, because guilt and shame are about things that we should have done differently. And as you mentioned, therapy, is one of my therapists along the way mentioned to me. She said, when we make the transition from guilt and shame into regret, we move from what we should have done to what we could do differently. And when we move out of that shame and guilt and into regret allows us to process it in the heart and say what we could do and will do from the learning, as opposed to shame and guilt, which keeps us trapped in what we should have done that can't be undone. So I just take a quick moment there, and with that, I want to now share with you the foundation of this exercise. So if you would, just play along with me, and I want you to just take your hands and put them in a triangle in front of you for a moment, and look right through the lens like this, so that I'm watching. Yeah, that's perfect. So what I want you to imagine is that this triangle right here represents your state, your emotional, physical, mental state at any given moment in time. That this state, essentially the question you would answer honestly, how are you, right? I am blank. That this state, that answer, creates the lens through which we experience our reality at any particular moment in time, and therefore it colors our experience of reality. And what I want to ask you to do is take this triangle and transfer it onto a sheet of paper in front of you. Go ahead and draw a triangle right in front of you. Because what we're going to do in the next 25 minutes is very quickly, but effectively, efficiently, beautifully move through our understanding of the construction of this state. See, typically, the way that people answer the question, how are you, is relative to the circumstances that they're currently experiencing. If they had a bad night's sleep, they're tired. If they're in the middle of moving, they're frustrated, they're stressed. If they've just lost a team member, they're feeling anxious, feeling overwhelmed, right? And we tend to answer the question, how are you, by taking a sample or a look at our current circumstances and answering in response. But the problem with this, if you can imagine, is that means that our state, the most important answer we give to the most important question asked, is subject to being victim to or the result of circumstances that are often out of our control. And so the question then becomes, what if instead of our state being the result of circumstances, we could learn to deconstruct our state so that we could reconstruct our state in a way that serves us for the moment at hand, allowing us to show up as the best version of ourselves when we need the best version of ourselves. And so in this very brief time together, we're going to go ahead and deconstruct so that you can reconstruct, so that you can walk away with a tool that will allow you to summon the best version of you for the task at hand, whether it be moving or making Thanksgiving plans or replacing that person that has just recently left, leading through crisis or leading through great times. But I'll show you the exact construction of this state to allow you to walk away with a tool that you'll be able to use from here and forever, from this day forward. And in doing so, that'll allow you to summon the best version of yourself in a moment's notice as needed, so that you can show up regardless of what's happening around you. So at the top of that triangle, I'm going to call upon the most critical function in my mind of the three cornerstones of this state. Now, you can change any one of them, but this to me is the most important one to understand. And that's our focus. So go ahead and just at the top of that triangle, if you would, write the word focus. And this is both the focus of the eyes, like visual, and mental focus. Literally what we look at and where we look, and more figuratively what we look at in the mind's eye, what we think about. What we focus on, we find. What we focus on grows bigger, and what we focus on, we become. Now, this isn't just a philosophy, but it's rooted in the science of an extraordinary mechanism that lives in the brain called the reticular activating system. The reticular activating system is a mechanism in the brain, which, Laura, say which again? Reticular activating system?
No. You said what we focus on, we find. You just said three things.
Yeah, what we focus on grows bigger. And what we focus on, we become.
Thanks.
Okay. You're welcome. Thank you. And the reticular activating system is an extraordinary mechanism. Now, what it's currently doing is monitoring and actually handling all of your critical survival functions, your breathing, your heartbeat, your blinking, everything that's going on inside your body naturally that's critical for survival is being handled by the reticular activating system. And it also has another critical function, which is to act as the filter between your non-conscious and your conscious mind. Now, our non-conscious mind is capable of processing 11 million bits of data per second. 11 million. The conscious mind is only capable of handling 50 bits of data per second. Okay, so the non-conscious, which is all of our other function, 11 million bits of data per second. The conscious mind, 50 bits of data per second. And so as a result, the reticular activating system's role is to decide what's going to make it to the conscious mind. And it decides that based on what it's learned is important to you for your well-being and survival, specifically your survival. And so it's a pattern recognition machine. So let me give you the best example of this I can give you. Somewhere along the way, you decided you were going to buy yourself or purchase a car, a vehicle. You started shopping for that vehicle. You started zeroing it in. You got really specific about the make, the model, the color, the package, the year, everything else. And you went out and you bought that vehicle. And then suddenly, over the next month, something absolutely almost magical took place on the road around you. But what did you suddenly start to see everywhere? But that very same vehicle. As though you'd conjured it, as though it had suddenly been summoned, as though you'd brought it into light. Now, unless you drive a Honda Accord, you do not drive the #1 car on the road in America. And yet I bet you notice your vehicle far more often than you notice Honda Accords. See, this is the power of the reticular activating system, in that what it does is it tells us once we've started to focus on something, we start to find it, it grows bigger, and eventually we become it. Now, if it's happening in this way for nearly everyone on something as unimportant as the vehicle we drive, I want you to imagine the implications of this as far as what you're noticing in your life, what you're noticing around you, what you're noticing in yourself, and what you're noticing in others. This is, by the way, the root of confirmation bias. And the only way to overcome confirmation bias is to realize that we are all subject to it. And this is why human beings can look at the same piece of evidence and come to completely different conclusions that support their own existing beliefs. Because whatever we've decided is true, we are now telling our reticular activating system to go out and find more evidence of that thing being true. And so what ends up happening, and that's why I love Lauren's, it was Lauren, I think, or Laura, sorry if I have that wrong, who was moving, my Bostonian friend in Hopkinton. Yeah, Lauren, right? Lauren, you said, right? Oh, I'm a Bostonian, so I am, right? Notice, by the way, I'm a Bostonian, so I am, right? So this is already stating a way of being. I am pessimistic. I notice the negative. I look for the, right? So this is a whole belief system wrapped around, well, this is just who I am, and so therefore this is what I do. Right? And then what's going to end up being true is we're going to continue to reinforce that. And now the reticular activating system goes, hey, this is important to us. I'm going to find more examples of it. Now, this can be true for something as unimportant as a car. It can be true for something as important as those limitations that you've identified about yourself. I'm disorganized. Right? Becomes something now that becomes a point of focus. Oh, now I'm going to find patterns that reinforce this belief. Right. And so what ends up happening is we start to look at these limitations, which, by the way, we maybe notice, maybe we have evidence for, maybe we don't really. But along the way, what we start to do is once we've identified them, now the brain is charged and the reticular activating system is finding examples of it being true. How many of you are with me so far by a show of a hand? Is this making sense? Okay, beautiful. So then the question becomes, how do we shift our focus? How do we shift our focus? Now, literally in life, we change what we're looking at because we tend to go where our eyes go. Which, by the way, that's also really important why we want to make sure we focus on where we want to go, not where we don't want to go. Because when we focus on what we don't want, the irony is we're bringing the very thing into focus, right? The famous phrase from Eckhart Tolle. He says, you know, let me prove it to you that by focusing on what you don't want, you're focusing on the thing that you don't want. Don't think about a pink elephant. Right? The moment that we say, don't think about a pink elephant, what does everybody think about but the pink elephant? So this idea of focusing on not being a certain way is in fact reinforcing that very way of being and our thinking towards it, our attraction towards it. So we want to focus on where we want to go. So literally with the eyes, where we want to go in life, what we want to look at. And then as it comes to the topic of our thoughts, right? We change our focus through our language. And the most powerful language of all that we can engage in, the most critical and powerful language in the English language, are the words I am. Whether it be the transitory state that is an answer to the question, how are you? Or whether it be the characteristics that I asked you to identify about your strengths and limitations, the I ams and the I am nots of our lives are shaping how we relate with ourselves with reality. They are fundamentally our identity, and the most powerful compulsion known to humankind is to remain consistent with their identity. You heard Lauren say it, I'm a Bostonian and therefore I am. Right? And it was a passing phrase, and yet look at how naturally it comes from the belief system, from the identity. And so as we consider those I ams, what we realize is that they're transitory versions, transient versions of our state, and that within us, we have the necessary set of characteristics to show up in our best version, but we don't always. Because tired and sick and frustrated and disappointed and anxious and annoyed can all cause us to move into versions of ourselves that don't honor and serve the moment. And so what I'm going to ask you to do right now is one of the most important exercises that was ever gifted to me and was truly transformational for me and has been subsequently for tens of thousands of people with whom I've shared it. And it's the power of crafting your mantra, your I am statement. Now, I encourage that you use the power of threes to identify 3 adjectives here, but in a moment, what I'm going to ask you to do is reflect. And I want you to think about either some of the strengths that you already identified or additional attributes. And what I'm going to encourage you to do is build a sentence that reads, I am a blank, blank, blank. And by all means, whether it's leader, mom, partner, whatever discipline it is for which you're wanting to call forth your best version of yourself, this is the moment to choose that for you. But I'm going to encourage you to reflect and start writing out some adjectives that are true about you, some of your strengths, some of your best characteristics that are unique to you. And I want you to just start writing them. And don't limit it to 3 right now. I want you to write a bigger list than that. But as you write them, I want you to notice how they feel in your body. Do they elicit something powerful? Do they create an emotion, something that pulls you forward, that calls you to your highest version of yourself? Take note of it when you write a certain word that evokes a feeling. Human beings, by the way, are the only animal that can think a thought and create an emotion as a result of it. At least as far as we know. But I want you to take a few minutes now and just reflect. I'm going to be quiet here in a moment and start writing out some attributes about yourself that are true, some of your strengths. Notice how they feel and put a special note next to the ones that really elicit something powerful within you. It doesn't have to be something that's true about you all the time. That's not the point. It's something that can be true about you, has been true about you, even if it's only been for glimpses. So take about 30 more seconds now. And as you've kind of put this list together, again, I want to encourage you to really think about harvesting these traits, these attributes into the 3 that you most want to summon. And it's critically important I remind you, these are not things that would be true about you all the time. Nothing is truly true about us all the time. There's many versions of us. So I want you to feel empowered to have the courage to pull forward the ones that maybe are most fleeting, but that you want most to incorporate and summon into you as a leader or a parent or a spouse or a leader in the community or whatever that looks like. Yeah, and in the truest consideration of the fact that we're here with Lady Titans, please, if it's woman that you decide that you want to call forth, the highest version of you as a woman, by all means, that would be beautiful. So Danielle, if you would assist me, there were a few folks that I left on hand raised earlier. Love to hear their I am statements. And again, if they'd like in this moment. Meanwhile, I'll encourage other people to start. Actually, hang on. Don't enter them in the chat quite yet. Hold off on the chat because I want us to focus fully on the people that are going to share and a little bit of coaching that might go with it. So can we bring those people forth?
Yep. Michelle Brown was next in line.
Michelle, would you like to share your I am statement? I don't. You had volunteered for something else, so I want to make sure this works for you.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm comfortable.
Great.
Well, hello, everybody. Thanks for having me. I wrote, of course, a long list of words, but the 3 that I would like to focus on becoming more of would be a passionate, understanding mother.
Passionate, understanding.
And then mother. Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. Okay, great. Beautiful. Did you say passionate or compassionate?
A passionate, understanding mother.
Beautiful. What? Let's draw a third in front of mother. What would be a third adjective that you'd love to see?
I guess the next passionate, understanding, inspiring.
Good. I'm glad I asked for this. Okay. So this is some coaching for you, and we'll be coaching for the whole group. This is so important now. This is so important when it comes to summoning our state. This is the highest version of you that we're calling, right? And inspiring, inspiration, one of my favorite words. It literally means to breathe life into, from the Latin, to breathe the spirit into. It's a gorgeous word, but we cannot guarantee through your own summoning that you will be inspiring. Because someone else would need to be inspired, right? However, people tend to follow those who are inspired. And they are inspired by those who are inspired. So my encouragement is, I think you already got it.
Yep.
What is it?
To be inspired myself.
Yeah. And so go ahead and read the statement now as a whole, or just say it, because I think you've got it locked.
Sure. So a passionate, understanding, inspired mother.
All right. And now here's what I want to show you. Imagine your kids growing up and you finding inspiration in them.
Yes.
What do you think their relationship with their mom will ultimately be as a result of that?
I think in return, they'll be inspired by me. I think it'll just be like a back and forth flowing into each other type thing.
Yeah. And we don't do it for that reason. We only do it to give.
Right.
And yet you're going to find, it's just almost
It'll just naturally return. Yeah.
Whereas if you're asking to be inspiring, you're looking to get something, even in the gift. But if you are just giving the inspired, that's absolutely gorgeous.
Makes sense.
Right? So seek being, right? You'll show up inspired each day passionate each day and understanding each day, I think that's a pretty special formula for the highest version of you.
Yes, sir.
That was really lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who's next, Danielle?
Randy Thompson. Would you like to share your I am statement?
Sure. I said I am a confident, honest, willing human.
Beautiful. I love human. All right. Ready?
Sure.
It is sure like I don't have a choice because that was two sures in a row. Or sure like, hell yeah, sure, let's go.
Bring it on.
Okay. All right. All right. So Randy, why confident?
I feel pretty confident in the tasks I take on and in the life I'm living and the role I play.
Mm-hmm. So why do you feel it's important to summon that?
To keep it, I need to. I don't like to do things half-ass. So if I'm confident in what I'm doing, I'm giving it my all, and I'm present.
Okay, good. All right. I love your answer. Now, I'm going to give some coaching here. Whole ass everything. A little bit of coaching here, which the team can choose how to apply as they wish, and you can choose as well. All right. One of the most overrated characteristics, in my opinion, of leadership is confidence. Now, feeling confident is amazing. Don't get me wrong. However, we typically feel confident when we know we can do something, which means it's almost impossible to summon confidence. And when we tell people to be confident, it's terrible advice. That's like telling someone to just be taller.
Well, you got to believe in yourself to be confident.
True. Well, that would be, yeah, and that's self-assured. But here's what I would share with you. Sometimes, and this may or may not be for you, so you just do with it what you choose. But sometimes what people are really looking for is not necessarily confidence, which is knowing that we can do something, but rather courage, which is doing something that we don't know that we can do, but going for it fully anyway. And so I heard it said courage precedes confidence. And confidence can be overrated, but courage is where it's at. And so I share it. It's yours if you want it. And if you decide on confidence, stick with confident, because I loved your explanation of it anyway. But I just wanted to share that as a possibility.
So thanks.
All right. And so, team, I want to be very cognizant of the time. And by the way, those were two extraordinary I am statements. And so I want to make sure that I complete your triangle for you, because I know that there are some of you out there that like to check off every task. And my God, if I left you with an incomplete triangle, you'd be a mess for the remainder. So the final cornerstone of state is our physiology, which is the movement of the body and the breath. And so your mission as you move forth, right, is to recognize that the mind is the mind is translating the story the body is telling it, as David Eagleman, neuroscientist, said, or motion creates emotion, as Tony Robbins said. This is, by the way, derived from much of Tony Robbins' content, this concept that I've shared with you here today. And realize that as you start to utilize these I am statements, and that is my encouragement for you, I have known no greater gift that I've ever been given than my I am statement. It has gotten me through the most challenging times of my life to show up in the most powerful ways that I could on the biggest stages that I needed. I'll share mine because it's asked, but I am I am a source for learning. Hold on, I wasn't ready for this. That's hilarious. I am an instrument for learning and a source. I am kind and patient and totally committed to seeing these women at and holding them to their very best. And then I have a they are statement. These women are brilliant and courageous and in the perfect place in their lives for our paths to cross. And that's my deepest belief, and that's exactly how you've shown up here today. And I'm so grateful for it. and to have your audience. And so as you begin to share your I am statements, or just share them with yourself, start to breathe them. Make sure that you embody the body language of the person who believes exactly that. Remember, you're summoning that which is already within you, focusing on the strengths that you already have to bring forth the best version of yourself. And this is available to you at any moment. And the more times you think these thoughts and feel these feelings, the more neural pathways and the stronger that neural pathway becomes. The more myelin protein begins to cover the pathway, and the more accessible it becomes. And through enough conditioning of these I am statements, they start to become your more regular states of being and your more consistent identity. So get it written, get it in front of you, and please, please, please recognize yourself as worthy enough of taking time each morning, before each meeting, when you need it most, when you're feeling your best, to re-anchor that I am statement. Because what you focus on, you will find. What you focus on grows bigger, and what you focus on, you'll become. Thank you for having me. I'm 2 minutes over time. I'm happy to hang around for a few minutes for anyone if there's any questions or clarification that I can offer. But it was a privilege to be here with the Lady Titans. Thank you so much for inviting me.
No, thank you so much, Keith. I mean, wow. Just so transformational. Just something just really, honing in on a key thing that can help all of us in so many ways. Thank you so much for that. And I know we're over, so I just want to take him up on that offer. If anybody has any questions, any follow-up, please feel free to come off mute and ask those while we still have time.
Okay, Keith, I have one. So in all these I am statements that when I was reading some of the chats earlier, a lot of us have trouble with I am being positive. Our I ams tend to start with what we think we need to improve on, or
interesting.
It's what's in our head. So how do you, I mean, yes, you can wake up and focus on that, but then when you're focusing on the negative, like you said, you become your focus. Mm-hmm. So how do you focus on changing that when you don't want to focus on the negative? Does that?
Yeah. I think I got you. Could you give me an example?
If you say let's say I'm a control freak, right? That can be looked at either good or bad, depending on how you say it. Depending on your moment.
Did someone say that? Wait, was that one of the I ams?
No, that's just an I am that I come up with. But
where you're reinforcing a negative.
Right. And then, so if you want to change that thought process, whether it's I am anything.
Yeah.
Because the more you think about the negative, you become it, right? So
great. Great. Well, let me see if this works for you as an example. So one of I don't believe in positive thinking. But I believe in powerful thinking. Okay. And the distinction here being, for example, this is not about, arguing with what is or disassociating from truth. In fact, it's about acknowledging what is and channeling our language towards something more serving and honoring. So, for example, now I'm careful about this because once you understand the power of I am, and start to harness I ams, I found that I wanted to be very careful about how I use them. So, for example, if I'm not feeling well, I will say something more like, I'm not feeling well at the moment or right now, as opposed to I am sick. Mm-hmm. Okay, because I really want to just make sure that I'm, moving down the path. But I'm not suggesting but let's just take I am sick. I mean, you might wake up and you're sick. I'm not saying that you just say I'm healthy or I feel great, and you just argue with the truth. But what we can use is the power of language to then shift our focus. So, for example, I'm not feeling well, but I'm also tough. Right? And I'm also resilient.
Mhm.
So this can be true, and so can this be true. And I swear to God, I think like the greatest distinction in life, the most powerful thing that we can learn to harness in life, or let me say it differently, because that feels what I see like the most extraordinary humans, what they're able to do is hold two truths at the same time and recognize that there is not just this one truth. And so like the ability to say, yes, I am, I said to my coach once, I said, I'm challenged between like whether or not I am being thoughtful by not sharing this information, and like not putting my negativity on someone else, or whether I'm being a coward and just talking myself into it. And she just said, well, maybe both of those things are true.
Awesome.
And I thought, wow, what a beautiful like in between to live in. Like maybe it is a little bit of both. Why does it have to be just one thing, one way? Right. And so, nobody's all good and nobody's all bad. And so as you find yourself in those, like, I am a control freak, I am this, and it's a negative, great, that's fine. And I am also this. And Laura, I'll share one more for you, which is if you find yourself in a true negative, like an I am not, I'm not organized, I'm not disciplined, I'm not happy. These thoughts happen faster than we can control them. That's just normal. I mean, human beings think somewhere between 40 and 60,000 thoughts per day. 98% of them are identical to yesterday, and of those, 80% of them are negative. Right? Because that's how we're wired as human beings for survival purposes. Now, with that said, you're going to think some of those thoughts. But when you say to yourself, I'm not organized, or I'm not happy, or I'm not healthy or anything, and you catch yourself, once you realize you've said that thing, just add the word yet. Just add the word yet to it. Yeah. And what you do is you now have created in your mind a new neural pathway that's on a continuum. And it's a beautiful little technique for creating continuums instead of ways of being that are already.
Thank you.
Great question. Thank you. That was beautiful.
And Keith, one thing that we had in the chat is somebody asked, do you have a podcast or suggest any?
So if you go to, a couple of answers to that. I do not have a podcast yet. That is my own. However, I've been a guest on many. And if you go to ethicalinfluenceglobal.com, which is my website, you'll find all of my resources. So podcasts that I've been a guest on, my full-length talks, my clips, like I made it a mission to share everything I can freely. So if this, and you want more of whatever, if you like this, then go there, for sure. Podcasts, I'll just open up right now. I am listening to the Eckhart Tolle podcasts at the moment. Dan Long from ServiceTitan actually put me onto it. I didn't realize he had one. It's like through Oprah's thing. So yeah, it's lovely though, because he is one of the great spiritual speakers of our time, or thinkers of our time. Another one that I listen to that's more of the mind conditioning and neurolinguistic programming is called Brain Software. That's Dr. Mike Mandel, Mandel. I've found over the years, truthfully, one of my most important regular listenings is the Calm app, CALM, Calm. Tamara Levitt. Someday I'm going to meet that woman. She's an extraordinary mindfulness coach. And her 10-minute meditations, if you've never meditated, don't worry, you're going to be great at it, because most people, I think, don't know what it really is. But she'll guide you through it. And then, I really enjoy the science behind this stuff. So Huberman, Peter Attia, and then Tim Ferriss, I always enjoyed, and then Making Sense with Sam Harris. He's a really interesting kind of philosopher. So I tend to spend some time listening to him as well. Not as much lately. I go in waves with what I'm listening to, and then I listen to a lot of audiobooks too. So
yeah, absolutely. And somebody asked, they missed it. What were the 3 sides of the triangle again?
Focus, language, physiology.
Perfect. Thank you. Anybody else have any follow-up questions for Keith? I know we could probably go all day, but want to put that out for maybe one last one before we let him go?
We've got
I
some
just
others.
threw one in the chat. I said, do you find renewal in strength in your IAM or elsewhere?
Okay, so really, really good. So I have conditioned my IAM deliberately, probably like, I'll say it this way, like better than I've done anything else discipline-wise in my life is my IAM. Like I've worked on it really, really hard. And what I mean by conditioned it is the following. So, Felicity, have you ever had too much to drink of a certain drink?
Yes.
What is it?
Almost 4 years sober.
Okay.
In January, I'll have 4 years sober. So I've had too much to drink of every drink.
Every drink. Got it. Is there one that to this day makes your like, the thought of it just makes your like, makes you curdle?
Yes. Dirty Shirley's.
Dirty Shirley's. I've never even heard of this. Remarkable.
It's a Shirley Temple with vodka. I think Lauren knows it because she was nodding and clapping.
My goodness, as someone who has drank just about every drink there is to drink, I've never heard of a Dirty Shirley. That's incredible. All right, so here's what happened. Right, you drank too much of this drink, which is literally poison. I mean, let's make no mistake what alcohol is. It's poison. And you drank too much of it to the point where your body was threatened, right? And so what the limbic system did, your limbic system, which is the emotional center of the brain that's designed to make sure that we keep these memories intact, it stored that information as a physical trauma, a physiological installation, so that now even just the mention of the drink actually creates a physiological reaction in your body, right? Okay. So this is the power of the limbic system and how it works, but we can also use this for good. And so the key to the I am statements, when we want to do a physiological installation, when I do this inside of a training in a session, what I actually have people do is they're saying their I ams to each other, high-fiving their partner, and their partner is saying, yes, you are. And they're creating a physiological high, an elevated experience, right? And so we're taking the same premise of the Dirty Shirley and the poisoning, but we're reversing it into a positive state. And now we're associating the I am statement with an elevated physiological state. And so the more often that when you're feeling your best, that's the most critical time to then anchor in the I am statement. Because then through enough conditioning, the I am statement will evoke that same physiological high. And so before I go on stage, before I coach, before I went into the session, I anchored myself. I was walking down the hallway of my hotel just going, I am an instrument for learning and a source. I am kind and patient and totally committed to seeing these women at and holding them to their very best. These women are brilliant, courageous, and the perfect place in their lives for our paths to cross. They're worthy. I'm worthy. Today's the day. Now's the time. That is so deeply anchored that I get like little like goosebumps up the back of my neck. I get kind of some chills and an immediate elevation from it because it's been anchored with the most critical moments of my life. And that person, that version of me, I trust fully. So before I go on stage, I know I turn it over to him. And I do that by summoning him with the I am. And then, anchoring to that they are. And I think, by the way, I got a direct message. Empower others through these statements. I was just going to, so there's a whole, like, this is my whole sort of core curriculum, but there was something that came up in it. All others get to be is as we choose to see them. So the second part of this mantra is the they are statement, in which you then start to label in a way that honors and serves the people that you serve, your children, your family, the people in your business, whoever you're walking alongside, and seeing them in their highest being with the labels that we assign to them. And so then it's an I am and a they are statement. I am a blank, blank, blank leader. These people are, brilliant, courageous, and in the perfect place in their lives for our paths to cross. That's mine, right? So, and then you choose your own, and that's how we instantly elevate others in a meaningful way. So I think I answered 2 questions at once there, I hope.
Wonderful. No, thank you so much. And Laura asked, can you write your I am statement? So very powerful.
Can I trust that somebody will capture it out of the recording?
Yes,
I am an
exactly.
instrument.
I was going to say, what we can do is we can send that along with the recording as part of the recap. Absolutely.
I'll say it one more time. I am an instrument for learning and a source. I'm kind and patient and totally committed to seeing these people at and holding them to their very best. These people are brilliant, courageous, and in the perfect place in their lives for our paths to cross. I'm worthy. They're worthy. Today is the day, and now is the time.
That's so wonderful. Thank you so much. And I challenge all of you to make sure and make your own. His is amazing, but it can be as simple as just that I am. It does not need to be eloquent and amazing. It's something that you continue to forge over time and grow into. And so don't think that it has to be this huge, amazing thing. It can be just that simple. That's why we started today with I am blank, blank, blank. So start small and grow yourself into something larger. Get those sources
such good
out.
Advice, Danielle. That was gorgeous. Please listen to her. Mine has evolved over 10 years. It's nothing like what it once was. The whole thing. So yes, that's beautiful. And feel free to keep playing with it and notice what feels good. And I keep having my leaders over the years, they'll recraft after 18 months. They look at it and go, I know there's something, like there's a new version of myself that I feel I want to call forward. And so yeah, keep playing.
Yep. We should always continue to be growing and moving forward and focusing forward. So it is something that, again, should always evolve. It should change with you and encourage you to continue to grow forward. So that's amazing, Keith. Thank you so much. And again, everyone, thank you so much for taking your time. We are almost 20 minutes past the hour and we still have we have 50 people here. This is amazing. Thank you so much for your time today. And it just shows, Keith, thank you so much. Thank you is not enough for the impact that you've had for so many of us. We really do appreciate you from the bottom of our hearts. And like I said, thank you is not enough for what you've brought to us today. So I really do appreciate it. And I can't wait to see you again to give you a giant hug in person.
Thank you.
I can't wait either, Danielle. Thank you.
I want to let you know that you have now hit our top Lady Titan Spotlight attendance in the last 2 years. So we are so excited. We've had a huge transition over the last couple of months, and you've really helped just kick off getting Lady Titans, everyone excited and getting we had new meeting links and a lot of administrative stuff. And with your poll, everyone wanted to be here. And I think I've already gotten a bunch of DMs saying how grateful they were that we were able to have this meeting this month. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your day for us.
I am really honored by that. Thank you for showing up. And let's make a commitment. Let's do it again.
We would love
so
that.
Much. Absolutely. I'm going to hold you to it. And please hold us to it as well, because we would love it. And Yeah, we hit our max for our Zoom capacity for our newest Zoom account that we started. So the next time we will definitely make sure that's increased so we can have so many more people join. But we will be sharing this out, the recording. So please, if you want to share it with anyone in your life that you think this will really ring true and help, please share it with them. We love to get this message out there.
It's amazing. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it. Have an amazing rest of your day. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Work on yourself on those I am statements. When you get frustrated with family,
yes,
recite those things to make sure that you can get through those hard times. I know sometimes, I have to do that myself to get through it and keep smiling and keep positive. Center yourself, work on what you can control. Don't let them take control of you. Let you control you.
Oh, God, Danielle, that was such a perfect
Good old
note to end
serenity
on.
prayer. Grant me the serenity to accept that which I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Yep, exactly. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Have
Bye,
a wonderful
everyone.
Thanksgiving.
And thank you, Danielle. Perfect host, of
Happy
course.
Thanksgiving. Thank you, everyone.
Danielle, does it show you how many people were in the waiting room when we hit 100?
It doesn't. It just hits 0 and won't change.
Bummer.
I know. I want to know how many we could have had.
I know.
Thanks, Danielle. Thank you very much for inviting me. That meant a lot to me.
No, thank you so much, Keith. I really appreciate it. Always love to chat with you, even the quick glimpses we get. It's always so amazing.
I was really touched by your introduction. Thank you.
I love that.
Bye, y'all.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
All right, guys. Until next time.
Have a great day,
Bye.
ladies.
See ya.